Good morning, everybody, and this is Burke Lyle. This is the earliest I've recorded a podcast or YouTube video in quite some time. It is about 7 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time here in Athens, Georgia. I am recording obviously in a different studio. It has been raining a lot, so throughout this week there has been no way that I could have recorded outdoors, which is honestly my favorite spot to record. So here we are. It's another baseball segment during this week, and right now, biggest story in baseball still the Houston Astros, and you can go down the list throughout the off season, right? And I've said this before, within 2 weeks of the Nationals winning the World Series, when it's kind of the quiet period of the off season, by mid-November, Mike Fiers reported to the Athletic. I think that happened probably, I think within 10 days, certainly less than 2 weeks after the parade and all the kind of celebrations took place. So that was Mike Fiers reporting to the MLB, and then that kind of started everything. And obviously, mid-January, everything breaks loose. Alex Cora, Beltran, and Hinch all lose managing jobs, and of all people, it would be hard to believe that Beltran would have lost his managing job. So again, that's when we all kind of found out. That's when everything happened. And we wondered what would it be like going into spring training, since maybe that story kind of died down a little bit. Trying to think what else happened during that time span. I guess other big baseball stories. Mookie Betts going to the Dodgers. That was a big deal since it really shifted all the power into the National League. And then you had playoff expansion that broke about last Monday. But ever since, really from the last week, I talked about the Astros. The Astros did their apology, things like that. I believe I talked about that last Friday, right? And then now this week, more and more Astros stuff is coming out. Rob Manfred had an interview with Carl Ravitch of ESPN to kind of address what's going on, and later spoke to Major League Baseball, or later spoke to reporters later a couple days ago in spring training. And now players are talking about the Astros too. You've heard numerous players: Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge, things like that. So this is really just dragging on. It's it's late February. Today's February 20th as I speak. Yet the Astros are still dominating major league headlines, and probably the biggest story in sports right now are the Astros. It just won't stop now. So the question is, when will we start to move forward with the Astros? And not only that, when will you start to think of the Astros as just another baseball team and not, say, the villains of Major League Baseball, which is what they are right now? So now, I want to first get to the Rob Manfred ESPN interview. So without further ado, let's go. So again, it was about 45 minutes long. I watched most of it. I might have skipped 10, 15 seconds here and there, but I kind of wrote down major points, what I thought were the biggest points. So Rob Manfred said this, and these are questions that I think he answered. So the MLB got ideas late into the 2018 season. The evidence was not as strong. Yes, could have been, since I think in 2018, I'm going to be honest with this, during the MLB playoffs when the Astros blew out the Indians, I may have heard some suspicions. I think there was some camera thing set up or whatever in the dugout or whatever between the Astros and Red Sox, two teams right now that are. And by the way, the Red Sox are being investigated right now, and that should conclude soon. So, again, if you're looking for a break from the Astros, I guess the Red Sox can be a storyline too. But again, it's also a cheating thing. I heard something about it, I forgot what it was, but some sort of thing happened. Nothing really happened. May have just been a warning thing. So that's just something I can relate to. But again, maybe people were trying to talk about the Astros, but I had no idea in 2018. Astros lose to the Red Sox in the ALCS. So then, later in the interview, Manfred says the responsibility is on the GM and the general manager, which I think that's what Jim Crane said in his press conference as well. So yes, I think it is on them. Since AJ Hinch, who certainly knew about the scandal, in fact, broke the monitor twice to stop it. Again, as we all know, that was not enough. Should have told the players, hey, that's enough. We can't keep doing this. That's not right. This is not, this is not part of the game. Didn't happen. Since again, yes, the reason why Hinch and Luno were fired is because they did not do enough to stop whatever scandal that was going on. That's on them. That is on the front office to prevent these from happening. And that is why they are no longer there. They did get 1-year suspensions, but again, when you have a 1-year suspension, like, are you going to put in, like, who's going to be your interim manager for a year? Which for the Astros is a possible Baker. You only got a 1-year contract, is going to be the manager, and then Hinch comes back. Maybe so. Or does Alex Cora come back? Who knows? That's not something to speculate right now since we have no idea. But again, and talking about players being suspended, I talked about this last week. Look, here's the thing, right? Who do you suspend? Since you saw the trash can, right? I mean, the biggest way to figure out is since, again, I don't know which player came up with the idea for it. I mean, Beltran, I think, was the main guy in charge of it, but he retired after the 2017 season anyways. You can you could suspend, I think, the players that were probably the most productive for the Astros overall during that 3-year span. Altuve and Bregman, no question about it. And George Springer. Do you suspend, again, and I talked about this last week, do you suspend 3 of them? What about Correa? He was hurt a fair amount that year and really the last 3 years, right? Do you suspend Evan Gattis? There's clearly video of him, even though he's out of baseball, benefiting from the trash can banging, right? Clearly. I think Bregman benefited as well. And then Correa goes on to say in his interview, which I will be providing some quotes from Carlos Correa later, but says Altuve would not use the trash can. So then do you just, how do you do this? So which players do you suspend? You're playing a guessing game. And that, not only that, I think it's hard to find out who did what. I mean, I think, since again, it was a team-driven thing. Now, one thing you could do is say, I don't know what you did or not, but we're going to suspend the entire Astros 25-man roster right now. And anybody who's on the Astros right now that was on the 2017 team, anybody that was a hitter, since again, I don't know how a pitcher can cheat. I mean, obviously they, at least with electronically, like I don't know how that would possibly happen, but I should suspend every hitter right now that was on the 2017 team and just tell them they can't play for a week, give them all a week suspension or 10-game suspension. You could do that. But here's the thing. I think it's the players' union. I think the players' union is strong enough where I think the only reason why they could investigate is the players knew they would not be suspended. I think the players' union is too strong. I think that's one. If you think about the baseball players' union, sure, there's been maybe some signs of weakness in recent years. You hear people talk about, how it's hard to sign free agents. For that matter, free agents are not signing at a fast rate. I think this year it's gotten a lot better. You're not hearing people talk about that too much this year. I think the Astros are one reason for the distraction. But again, just knowing the players union not having any work stoppages in 25 years. So you have that factor. So just the union. So again, with the players union, no players are going to be suspended at all, which some people were very disappointed in it. Very good. That, the union, and really evidence. Like, how do you find that, right? So again, Manfred said in a perfect world, players, yes, but this was not a perfect world that they're in apparently. That's why they're not suspended and nobody will be suspended. And sure, I guess one thing you do is go back and watch every game from 2017 and try to identify all the trash can banging. I mean, I think somebody put out a 25-minute video on YouTube of the trash can banging, and whoever was using that or whatever was trying to use the trash can to hit, suspend them. Sure, you could do that, but again, no one's getting suspended. And really, what Manfred said, as I said this earlier, and who got punished the most? Jeff Lunau and AJ Hinch. It was their job to put a stop to it, and they did not do enough. That is why they were suspended and therefore fired by Jim Crane. So, Manfred later did not think the Astros press conference was successful. Neither did I. Since again, Altuve and Bregman should have used that as a question and answer statement. I was listening to the Buster Only podcast with Marley Rivera from ESPN. I remember, and this is all paraphrasing, was saying some quotes that the Astros players in the locker room were explaining what happened. They answered a lot of questions. They said, yes, what we did was wrong, and yes, this may be a bad example for potentially Little League players. That's what I remember hearing the most about it. So again, that is what we have been hearing right now. But again, so that's what they said kind of privately. But Altuve and Bregman, they didn't say enough. I think they should have taken questions and answers really for everyone to reveal what was happening, and should have been honest, And then Jim Crane took almost all the questions. So that's what happened. I talked a lot about the press conference last week. I did not like it either. I think the players should have spoken more. And again, Carlos Correa, who then spoke out later of Ken Rosenthal, that could have been a whole separate video, really. And Correa basically defended Jose Altuve in that entire video. And that's what happened. So Correa really got to speak publicly on the issue. And then taking away the World Series trophy. Manfred thought that would be too complicated, and I agree. So you take away the World Series trophy and no one has it. Let's just say it's empty. Well, will that make things different? What if you did take it away? So here's the thing. The Astros won the World Series in 2017. That season, you can't take that away. Purely winning the World Series, there's no time machine to stop whatever happened. You cannot take away what they felt at the time and all the experience at the time. Sure, you remove a banner from the park again. If I were an Astros fan, they took it away, I'd still celebrate it. You can't take that away. In the NCAA, they vacate stuff. I think that Memphis Tigers season of Derrick Rose, I think that ended up being vacated or whatever reason, right? You can take that away. You can take away the record books. Sure, if you're a coach, you might lose some wins and losses, I think. Right? But again, and yes, I think it would be too complicated to take it away, since once you start doing it, where do you end up? I mean, look, here's the deal. They won the World Series. Now we can debate, and this will be a debate for the next 100 years, if not even longer than that. You talk about the Black Sox scandal that happened 100 years ago. With this scandal, and to keep it in mind, people are going to talk about this for a long time, and there can be debates whether the Astros won the World Series the right way or whether they did not. And AJ Hinch went on to, I remember saying this when being interviewed by Tom Verducci, went on to say, yes, you could make an argument that the World Series was potentially tainted, but players said they won it fair and square. So did Jim Crane. So again, you take away the World Series, I don't know how that'll go. So again, this will just be a debate. This is just people's opinions. And then finally, as we're getting towards the end of the interview, gave credit to Mike Fiers for coming out. Mike Fiers Since again, it really started again back and all the way back in mid-November. The first time I really heard about this was mid-November when Mike Fiers came out and spoke about what happened and gave kind of the details. So again, I'd say Mike Fiers is, will he be unpopular by some people? Sure. But again, Fiers said what needed to be done, I thought. And if he didn't say this, maybe we never know about this. So again, I think Mike Fiers wanted to address whatever issue was going on in Houston. Since again, played against the Astros really over the last year and a half or so, being in Detroit and especially Oakland, you have the potential to start against them as many as about 6 times a year. So faces them regularly. So again, probably wanted to warn people about it. Since again, Fiers playing on the A's against the Astros, watching them play 19 times a year and then potentially starting against them as many times, I could see why he could be suspicious and why he wanted to come out on that. And finally, here's the last part of the video. This could even be a separate video. So, and this was controversial. So Manfred, I'm going to use 2 quotes here, and this is really the last part of this current video. So Manfred basically said, the piece of metal, here's the first quote. I want to apologize for that, Manfred said in a news conference at the Omni Scottsdale Resort. I guess that's the hotel. There's no excuse for it. I made a mistake. I was trying to make a point, but I should have been more effective way. And again, I want to apologize for that. So again, Manfred called the World Series a piece of metal trophy, since I think that was asked about. I think that was somewhere along the lines of should it be taken away, piece of metal. Again, again, here's the thing. When you technically look at it, all the trophies in sports, yeah, the Lombardi Trophy is a piece of metal. The Stanley Cup, as valuable as it is and as historic as it is, with all the names on it and how much players cherish winning the trophy and their day with the cup. Yes, it is just a medal, but it was a very sacred piece of metal. The Larry O'Brien Trophy. Yes, it is a piece of metal as well. All trophies are basically, when it comes down to it, pieces of metal, right? That could be like saying your house, oh, it's a piece of wood. Or your car's a piece of metal, or whatever. Like the trophy is a piece of metal, but I think the players value it a lot more than that. Like, I think they really cherish getting to hold it and see it. Like I was very lucky. And granted, I'm a fan, not a player, but I enjoy seeing the Commissioner's Trophy. You know, I got to see it in person when I was at the parade in Washington, D.C. I thought it was very cool. Seeing it in person, I saw it at Capital One Arena for that Caps Flames game. I mean, it was very cool seeing a trophy like that in person. Since have I ever seen the Lombardi Trophy in person? I don't think so. I've seen the Stanley Cup in person. About 10 years ago, I was lucky enough to see it in person. Of course, I am too young to really remember what it was like. I'd certainly love to see the trophy in person again. Because again, I think, and I've never, so again, you see trophies like that, they're very much valued. I think they're a symbol of success and accomplishment. And I think John Lester was very upset by that. And I think Justin Turner did not like those comments, but it wasn't really, when I tried to look it up, I really couldn't find as much information as maybe I would have liked. So again, that was just a minor mistake made by Rob Manfred. Was just trying to make a point, was just saying, hey, I mean, are we going to take away a piece of metal from them or whatever? Saying that, right? So again, apologize for it, said it wrong. And then Manfred went on to say this. Quote, I will say this. I've awarded 5 World Series trophies, took over as commissioner in 2015. That started out with the Royals and went on to the Cubs, Astros, Red Sox, and now the Nationals. There's no greater pleasure in this job than awarding that trophy. I understand what it means. And again, it was a mistake to say what I said. So again, Manfred, yes, said a mistake. And again, what would he have said if, again, I don't know. I mean, I said, I mean, do we really want? Well, I don't know. That's just probably the best thing Manfred could think of saying at the time. And whether that was right or wrong, it was a mistake. I think used the wrong sort of language here. And yes, actually, again, just said that's the best part of his job, probably his favorite part of his job, or one of the greatest pleasures in the job is getting to see a team win the World Series and awarding them the trophy. Like, I think that is very special to get to see the World Series trophy year in and year out. So again, really really enjoyed it. And again, I don't look. I think that's just gonna go. I don't think that's gonna be that big of a deal. But again, just kind of what is going on with the storylines right now. So that is all for this episode on the press conference. Next, I want to share player reactions.